U.S. economy contracted sharply at the end of 2008. The final revision of the GDP number is the worst showing in at least a quarter century. The U.S. economy shrank at a 6.3% pace at the end of 2008, the worst showing in at least a quarter century, and probably isn't doing much better now. The Commerce Department has reported that the economy was sinking a bit faster than the 6.2% annualized drop for the October-December quarter estimated a month ago. And the pain has persisted in the current quarter. New claims for unemployment benefits last week rose to a seasonally adjusted 652,000 from the previous week's revised figure of 644,000, the Labor Department said. The total number of people claiming unemployment benefits jumped to 5.56 million, higher than economists' projections of 5.48 million, and a ninth straight record high. The figures indicate that the labor market remains weak, even as some other economic indicators come in better than expected. Consumers are cutting back under the weight of rising unemployment. Again, no jobs, no economy, no recovery. Falling home values and shrinking investment portfolios. Those factors have forced companies to slash production and more jobs. All the negative forces are feeding on each other in a vicious downward spiral or vicious cycle that has deepened the recession now in its second year. It's still deepening. Economists are bracing for an even sharper 6.5 annualized decline in the government's third and final estimate of gross domestic product for the fourth quarter. Still, the results were dismal. The economy started off 2008 on very feeble footing, picked up a bit of speed in the spring, and then contracted at an annualized rate of 0.5% in the third quarter. And this year might not be any different. Actually, it could be worse. Yes, worse. The faster downhill slide in the final quarter came as the financial crisis, the worst since the 1930s, intensified. The main culprit behind the GDP downgrade was that businesses cut inventories more deeply than estimated a month ago. That cut 0.11 percentage points off fourth quarter GDP, rather than adding 0.16 percentage points in the previous report. And when they stand up, they're always falling backwards, never able to get ahead or progress. Builders also cut spending on commercial construction more deeply through previously announced. Many economists believe the economy will keep shrinking at least through the first 6 months of this year, if not longer. Of course, nobody really knows for sure, because there's never been a time like this before, and there will be times like this again. In the current January-March quarter, some economists believe the economy is contracting at a pace of between 5 and 6%. The government will release its initial estimate of first quarter GDP in late April. There were glimmers of hope last week, but Americans' appetites to spend might be moving a little. Orders for costly manufactured goods and new home sales both logged unexpected gains in February. But economists said neither result likely foreshadowed a lasting rebound. There's fundamental problems with the U.S. economy and with all the nations of the world's economies. And everything that must change will have to change, or must change rapidly. Even in the best case scenario, the nation's unemployment rate, now at a quarter-century high of 8.1%, is expected to keep climbing in the months ahead. Yes, it's supposed to get worse. The economists predict the jobless rate could hit at least 10% at the end of this year, if not more. Once again, no jobs, no economy, no recovery. You got to have job growth, not job losses. That's most important. Even though the stock market might go up a little bit, it's a false signal of some kind. More job losses were announced this week. Shaw Industries Group Incorporated, the world's largest carpet maker, said it would close 2 plants in Georgia and lay off approximately 600 workers. Hospira Incorporated said it would cut 1,450 jobs, or approximately 10% of its workforce, while automaker General Motors said it laid off another 160 engineers, the beginning of 3,400 planned cuts among its salaried employees. That's only the beginning. In the final quarter of last year, consumers cut spending at a 4.3% annualized pace, the same as previously estimated. It was the biggest decline since the second quarter of 1980. Consumers cut spending on non-durables such as food and clothes at a 9.4% pace, the most on records dating to at least 1947. Business cut spending on equipment and software by approximately 28.1% on an annualized basis, the most since the first quarter of 1958. Builder spending on commercial construction dropped an annualized 9.4%, the biggest decline since the third quarter of 2002. And home builders cut spending by 22.8%, the most since the start of 2008. The recession also is hurting corporate profits. One measure tied to the GDP report showed after-tax profits of U.S. companies dropped 10.7% in the fourth quarter, even worse than the 0.5% decline logged in the third quarter, and fallout from soured investments in mortgages and other investments also figured into the sharper, steeper decline. Both the new and old fourth quarter GDP readings were the worst since the first quarter of 1982, when the economy, hit by a severe recession, contracted at a 6.4% pace. For all of last year, the economy grew just 1.1%, unchanged from the government's previous estimate. That was down from a 2% gain in 2007 and marked the slowest growth since the last recession in 2001. And this is a worldwide economic crisis, a recession, or whatever have you call it. Anyway, everything is connected, and all these are more signs of the end times. Transition days. There is a real transition going on. And it's happening. And it's happening rapidly. Once again, these are more signs.